second episode of Polaroid. We have again with us Debarghya, and we'll be speaking about a few cases and giving a few insights about the COVID-19 virus, and also we'll be talking about little bit about how it's impacting about its impact on the Indian economy, and if possible, if we have time, we'll go for the world economy as well. So welcome Debarghya to the second episode of the Polaroid. We're thrilled to have you here. So,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
how is coronavirus treating you?
Same old question, man. Like, I'm not actually bad comparing to like other people. Like, we are living in some sort of comfort, right?
Right.
But yeah, boredom is an issue that I won't deny. So basically, I don't have any recreational thing in my where I live.
Okay.
There's no Wi-Fi, so I'm using my GeoNet from my phone. And yeah, like I don't have much to do because my exams and all those things are gone. Okay, either they are done. I have already given some exams pre COVID-19 lockdown days.
Right.
And the exams that should have been happening right now are postponed for unforeseen time. I mean, I don't know how many days. Probably in May end, June.
Okay. So that's a long time, but the way things have panned out, it's almost 3rd of May, and you know what's going to happen, right? What do you think
Yeah,
it's going to
it
happen after the
seems
3rd?
like, see, it seems like, so before we say if the lockdown should be lifted in 3rd of May, I would like to share some stats. So if you can please
Yes.
show us what the numbers are like. Yeah, the previous one. Yeah, it's fine. So basically, see, from the trend, from the numbers here, we can see that yesterday, like 28th of April, we stand around 31,000, a little bit more than 31,000 cases, right?
Right.
So basically, what we were seeing in the mid-April days, the number of cases. Can you please show the daily number of cases? That chart one. Yeah, no, yeah, that one. So basically, if you see that from the mid-April, okay, the numbers are always increasing, like
You're
more.
right.
Yeah, here. From here we went from like 500 plus daily number of cases
Yes.
to
Yeah, this is
1000
the
plus.
highest.
Yeah,
1,000.
and April 18th, I guess that is the highest, like that is like
Right.
2000. But then again, if you see that post that day, like post April the 18th, we haven't yet touched that number, right?
Yes.
So there's this, we can say that this is like the peak of the curve.
Okay. So you think after this, everything is going to go
So
downwards?
basically, from the ICMR website, what I have seen that they're predicting that. Can you show me the first one, first picture? Yeah. So basically, if you can see that from the April 5th to April 12th, right?
Okay.
This window.
Yes.
Yeah, this window. So basically, here the curve flattened pre-April 5th day, pre-April 5th, right? So
Right.
basically,
So
here,
this is the
yeah.
flattening of the
Yeah,
curve.
just before this hike, the curve was already going upwards. But
Right.
from the March 29th to April 5th, okay,
Okay.
post that scene,
Right.
the curve flattened out a bit.
Okay.
And
Yes.
basically, this is a logarithmic chart. Logarithmic chart means it's an exponential growth. So
Okay.
in a logarithmic chart, even if the curve is slightly upwards, it means that the numbers are growing exponentially.
Right.
But the rate of growth is very less.
Okay.
So until and unless you get a flat line, in a logarithmic chart, you can't really say that the numbers are not growing. The numbers are growing, but at a very slow pace. Very slow pace.
Okay. Basically, the rate has been reduced.
Yeah, basically the rate has been reduced, and
Okay.
this is very tricky. Like if the numbers are deceiving, like from the March 29th and towards the April 5th, if that curve, can you show my cursor? Yeah, can you see my cursor? I
No.
guess no. No. Okay. Can I share my screen? I guess. Hang on.
Yes, I'll just stop sharing mine.
No, no, no. It's fine. Like so. Okay. I don't have that picture. Okay. One second. Just give me a second. If I can. Once. Yep. There it is. Can you see it?
Very small, so I'll just stop sharing my screen. Then you can.
Okay.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. See, basically, can you see my screen
Yeah.
right now? Yeah. So basically, from the March 29 to the April 5th, okay, here is the main exponential, the major growth here, right?
Okay.
And it looks very deceiving. Like it almost seems like the curve has been like flattening out like this since here. It seems very it's insignificant. But if you can project it, okay, if you can one second. Let it print. Yeah, better. Yeah. So it seems like very insignificant. This part, the part where the curve actually flattens out. But if you don't flatten it out at this point,
Okay.
it goes on like this. Just let me take a line. It goes on like this.
Okay. What you can do is you can just cut the place
Yeah.
where my face is
This
showing, so it's going to be clearer for the audience.
I can cut your.
Yes, the cross. Oh no,
Okay,
no. Yeah,
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 it's fine.
yeah.
So basically, this is the part. See, before this, we were actually had similar kind of exponential growth.
Right,
Can you see it? Similar kind of exponential growth.
right.
Like from 100K to 100 cases to 1K, we reached 100 cases around this point, I guess,
Oh,
probably,
yes.
and 1K in here and 10K in here. So basically, this is the 1K part, and this is the. So basically, from March 8th to March 24, I
Second,
guess.
20,
20,
20. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
25th. Yeah.
yeah.
So basically, ha. So basically, this from this day to this day, we reached 100 to 1000 cases.
Yeah.
Okay. And one second, just I'm not very proficient in this.
Not a problem.
So how many days is this? From March 8th to March 24 is like 16 days.
All right.
Right. And from March 24th to April 5th,
Yeah.
April 6th, that is all also 20.
11.
Almost, yeah, almost 12 to 13 days like that. Okay. It's
Okay.
not April 6th, it's like April 8th, I guess,
All right.
because the
Yeah, yeah, I
point.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's similar gap, similar number of days.
Okay.
See, that's how exponential curve grows. Basically, it took 16, 14 to 15 days from going to 100 to 1K, and then again another 14 or 15 days from going to 1K to 10,
Oh,
1K to
yeah.
10K. The problem is our medical system can handle 10K cases,
Okay.
but it will not be able to handle 100K or like a million cases.
All right. Yeah,
Okay, that's
that's
where the limitation
obvious.
is. So if this trend continued till now, we would have reached like April 6, 7, 8. So April 8 plus 15 days. That is April 23, I guess. So basically by this point, we would have reached 100K.
Right.
Okay, by April 23rd.
Right.
By April 23rd, this could have reached 100K, and to reach a million Ks, there would be like add 15 days to April 23rd. That is May 3rd.
Yes.
By May 3rd, we would have reached May 3rd or 5th, 6th, we would have reached a million cases.
And what do you think is the main reason that it has been controlled? Like the curve has been reduced?
Social distancing, of course, I'm coming to that just in a moment. So basically, when we will talk about the 1 month chart, we will come to that. So here I am just analyzing the trend, how it is going.
Okay.
What it would have been if the lockdown wasn't imposed. So basically, by this time would have reached 1 million cases by March 3rd. But due to this curvature,
1 million or
1 million,
100,000?
1 million
Okay, 1 million.
by
Okay.
March 5th or 6th, like when the lockdown, probably, I don't know if it will be over
May
on,
May 5th or 6th,
sorry,
you mean?
May
Yeah.
5th or 6th, sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. So due to this, due to the curvature of the flattening of the curve, it is still growing. It is still growing at an exponential pace.
Okay.
But the rate of growth here versus the rate of growth here, that is the rate of growth is the tangent. If you like
Yeah,
draw
yeah,
it,
I get it.
that is the rate of growth. So the rate of growth here versus the rate of growth here, this is much less.
All right.
Basically, anyone who has done trigonometry, you would have known that like this
I'm not
angle.
sure how many of our viewers are actually like trigonometry. So I think you must explain it in
I'm
the
just
simple
putting
way.
up the numbers. I'm just putting up the numbers. It's fine. So basically, this value, and like if you the value of this, it is much less comparing to the value
Yeah,
of
you mean the angle.
like this at the angle. Yeah, the angle of this. So basically, this is that's how exponential growth works. Okay, now how to stop screen sharing?
You have an option. You have an option in the bottom right.
Yeah. Wait 1 second.
Yeah, this one. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it fine?
Yeah.
So that how it works. That's how we can tackle the. We have actually managed to able to flatten the curve, and like many first world countries, they haven't been able to flatten the curve until and unless the mass herd immunity has been reached. Like until
Right.
and unless significant amount of the population is like got affected by the COVID-19. After that, they already have been some herd immunity in the cluster. Okay, various clusters. So after that, they have been able to flatten the curve, but till then, like the damage has been done already. The damage has been done. So yeah, we have been proactive, and it has bore us result. Now the question is, how long can a lockdown should be
Exactly.
applied? Right. See, we have talked about this in our previous podcast. So if you haven't watched it yet, please go
Correct.
and check our previous podcast. That how long a lockdown can be applied implied. Okay, we have to be in the middle ground. There should not be a scenario where a lockdown is implied for like 3 or 4 months. Okay, and there shouldn't have been a scenario like this that there's no lockdown.
Right.
Okay, so basically, what I have shown you just now, the curvature of the graph. So if current trend goes, if the current flattening of the curve goes around, we will see. Okay, let me share a screen again. Wait a second. So basically, if the current trend continues, we will see a flattening of this curve. Sorry, my bad. this curve will flatten by the time of May 16th.
All right.
Yep. 16th of May, this will come to an downward curve. Like we will reach this point where the curve is going down by 16th of May. So basically, if this trend continues, we are currently at the peak of the curve. Like what we are seeing right now is the worst of the curve.
So everything after this goes downwards.
It won't go worse than this. So in my opinion, I can understand if the lockdown extends till May 21st or May 16th, like we are now listening that the lockdown will be extended, like partial lockdown will be extended till May 21st, and some like small scale retailers, they are allowed to open the shops, which is fine by me. My opinion, I mean.
Okay.
This
partial lockdown might cause this curve to like increase, and it can, because the average interaction among people is very low now. But once the partial lockdown is called, it might increase. But yes, because if the partial lockdown is there, it's very good from the economic perspective, because people are being able to do business and actually get some food on the table. So that way, I think that's a good thing. But everything has the advantages and disadvantages. So I think that's a necessary evil that the government should do, or maybe they'll do.
I want to bargain here. Even the partial lockdown, partially the lockdown is lifted, I don't think the curve will increase that much, because we are not at the third phase of the what is that? Outbreak. Yeah, third phase of the outbreak. We are not community in transferring the virus. Okay, because 80% of the cases are asymptomatic, and like in 80% of the cases, we can track back to some people who are connected with either Tablighi Jamaat or foreigner, or like those incidents. Okay. So
but how are you going to control them?
We haven't yet reached the community transmission phase. So until and unless that phase is reached, lifting a partial lockdown won't affect the curve that much, because in any sort of epidemic or pandemic, okay, the infection or the spreading of the viruses happen in clusters. It doesn't happen in like randomly.
You can stop the screen.
Yeah, even it happens randomly, it is very few. The number of random infections, that is very few. Usually it happens in clusters. So basically in the lockdown, what we have done is we have identified those clusters and we have contained those clusters. If we can keep those clusters apart from the mainstream, the other places, or the green zones and the orange zones, I think the lifting of the partial lockdown won't affect that much of the
but it will affect, right? But the count will rise up even if it's very, very less, right?
It's minuscule. I don't think that's a thing that should be worried about.
But then if the number increases, then it's like everything that's happening is exponential, right? So if the number increases even a bit, like in a few days or in a few weeks, that number might be a huge number. So how do you you can like stop the screen sharing if you don't need the chart.
Even if it is an exponential growth, the thing that I have just said, that even if it grows, it will be contained in a cluster. Like in a pandemic, okay, until and unless community transmission is reached, it doesn't spread like any random 4 or any random 5 people. Like this is a probability. Okay, then there's lots of other factors that comes in. I'm not going into that detail. But what I can say is that if you contain the clusters, okay, if you contain the red areas, what I'll say, the red flag areas, the red flag zones, it's not going to affect that much. Even if it is even if it happens in a exponential way, we are better prepared to tackle this sort of outbreak.
Okay.
It's not going to be an outbreak. Okay, like
All right.
whenever this situation reaches in a pandemic, the medical system already gets equipped
I'll
with.
just interrupt for a while. Like, do you need this chart right now?
Okay, no, it's fine.
All right.
No, where was that?
Skype.
Oh yeah, I see. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So where was I? Yeah. So basically, whenever you stay in a pandemic, right? Whenever this is not. I want to rephrase myself. This is not something new.
Okay.
If you find 100 cases right now, it is not new.
All right.
You can expect to find 100 cases. You
It's
see,
not new as in,
it's not
like,
new
as
as
in the cases aren't new,
it
or
is not
the,
unprecedented. We are already tackling this thing for like 2 months.
okay. But
Okay.
the medical systems are almost overcrowded. So partial lockdown
No,
will,
no, no.
yeah.
You're missing my point. See,
Okay.
my point is when a pandemic occurs, right? In
Right.
the initial days, in the initial days, when we don't know anything about that pandemic or the virus, the infection rate of that virus is the highest
Yes.
because we don't know anything about it. We don't know
Right.
what kind of precautionary measures should be taken
All
or
right.
what we should do or what we should follow. By we, I mean the mass.
Okay.
Okay. So at that time, it is like unprecedented. It's an unprecedented. We haven't tackled anything of that sort, right? But when you're living in this thing for 1 month or 2 months,
Yes. You're
people are
accustomed to it, right?
normal people are usually equipped with uh, what else useful knowledge about that virus or how to tackle that.
All right.
So by naturally the infection rate of that virus comes down a bit.
Okay.
If you compare the stats of the initial 14 15 or 1 month, and if you compare the right now the infection rate of that virus, you will find it much lesser.
Okay, but let me tell you about a condition or a situation where there is partial lockdown. So people are going out to the grocery stores to buy their whatever rice and like the necessities, you know. So
Yeah,
they go there, but there is one unreported cases. As we know in India, there are a lot of unreported cases right now. So if there is someone who has no idea that he has that virus in him and he goes there and then interacts, and then even if he doesn't interact, somehow he touches some things that are taken to other people's houses. So suppose
yeah,
I have
that
that virus. Wait, I have that virus, so I touch a few things, then through that those few things are taken to houses of other people. So that can be numerous, because
yeah
grocery
that
stores
can happen. That can
are the
happen.
main hub. They are going to be
Yeah.
that place where
Ah,
people are going to go when this partial
I get
lockdown
it. I
hits.
get it.
Right.
I get it.
Now,
Yeah.
you want to say something?
Yeah, that can happen. To tackle this, what we need is we need clarity in information. Okay, and we need rapid testing. So whatever I have said before, I have said keeping in mind that there should be enough testing. That the
Is enough testing happening? Like
greenhouse.
in specifically in India, there
I'm
are
not talking
not
about
a
West
lot
Bengal.
of places to, like there are not a lot of places where you can actually test yourself, because there are numerous unreported cases, and one of the prime reasons are there are no scopes for testing. So how do you deal with that and
Yeah, the
with the
thing is
partial
that
lockdown?
I'm not talking about West Bengal.
No, I'm not talking about West Bengal, I'm talking about India.
I'm talking about India, like in normal India.
Yeah.
Normal India, I mean, where there is enough data or enough tests that is happening. Oh,
Yeah.
whereas we have
Is there, like,
even
is
if,
there testing
even if
happening?
there, even if enough test is not happening right now, we actually have the actual number that how many tests are happening. Okay,
I
now
don't get it.
okay, even if we are conducting 100 tests, okay,
Yeah.
which is not enough, we have the actual data that we have conducted 100 cases. If we are
Yes,
conducting
but if
100
there are
cases,
200 cases, then you don't have the data of
listen,
having
no, no, no.
200, right?
just let me finish, man.
Okay.
So basically, if we are conducting 100 cases and we are telling that we are conducting 100 tests, basically.
Right.
So that is clarity of data.
Okay.
High or low doesn't matter. Okay. What we want is the clarification of the data. Like if it is uh, something that is not um, touched with, in the sense, I mean, it is not changed,
Okay.
deceived.
All
Okay.
right.
So basically, in a country, in a hugely populated country like India, you can't there's no system like testing every people.
Right.
Okay. I can explain this in a similar thing. You know parallel processing in
Okay.
computers.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically we are doing basically multitasking.
All right.
Parallel processing. Like if something is huge enough or some program or something, anything that is large enough that one processor can't learn it, so you divide it by clusters.
Let me put it in a simple way so
The
that the
same thing happens.
audience can understand. It's something if you have one work and you have three people, so you divide that work among three people, so it works faster. If I'm
Yeah.
not wrong, you won't.
Yeah, so
All right.
basically, a similar sort of system works in the testing in a hugely populated country. Okay, you
Okay.
can even if you conduct 1 lakh tests per day, 1 lakh tests per day,
Yes.
it will take 39 years to test 141 crore people.
All right.
39 years. So you can't tackle that problem by testing everyone.
Okay.
You We tackle it by testing like selected testing.
All right.
Okay, so if you are getting, you have tested positive, your family won't be tested. They will already be taken into quarantine.
All right.
So that's how it is done. So even if the number of tests are very few, it is not like suppose someone is living with his wife. Okay, that guy is test positive, and his wife's obviously is positive because it's such an infection virus. So government won't test his wife. They will by default they will quarantine
Both
her.
of them.
Yeah. So
All right.
basically, even if you're conducting 100 tests, okay,
Right.
1,000 tests, you are basically checking over like 50,000 people.
Okay.
Get my point?
Yes, but do we have space for 50,000 people?
No,
Is that a
that's why, yeah, no,
feasible way to
that's
do it?
that's where the flattening of the curve comes in. You
How?
can we can't possibly test or quarantine this huge amount of people.
Right.
So we can, at best we can tackle it by like, see, take it as this way. If I'm tested negative, okay, if I'm not being affected by the virus,
Right.
10 of my family members don't need the test. They
All
don't
right.
they don't need to be tested.
Right. Look, we're not talking about the people who don't have it. We're talking about the people who have it
Have it.
and about their
No,
families.
I'm just talking about the other part of it. So it
Okay.
can be like the problem about making someone get this is that there's so many factors working in here, right? We can't possibly have a 20-minute session talking about this and get like uh, clarifying everything.
Yeah, but the main thing is the partial lockdown economically it's going to help, but I think it might increase the chances of getting this virus in more places. I feel so.
By a very small scale margin, yes, but then again, the exactly the thing we have talked about in the
But
previous
then
podcast.
our medical system has been overcrowded already. And also, let's be fair, there is no cure yet. So even if it's increasing even by a bit, it might be a problem in the future. That's how I see it. I might be wrong. I'll be super happy if I'm wrong.
Yeah, of course, that is like until and unless we don't have a cure, we are actually in a like great situation.
Yeah, suppose the partial lockdown hits, I go out and buy some things, buy some sauce because I have Maggie and I don't have sauce. Maggie like normal taste shit. So now I go out and buy some sauce, buy from a person who is infected. I come back home, I get
But the
infected, my whole family is gone.
chances of that happening is very less because like you are already if you say that the shop is open, that means you are living in the green zone. Okay, and green zone is declared those zones who have like I guess less than 10 people affected, and like everything is under control
Okay.
as per the government norm. Now we don't
Yes.
know that if that is clear, like how.
Because the main problem is I've been reading a lot of articles regarding unreported cases, and
Yeah.
I don't fear the reported ones because they are taken care of. The main problem and the main thing I fear is the unreported cases, as you don't know, one person is walking in their free will everywhere they want during the partial lockdown. If the partial lockdown hits and he has the infection with him, and that fool has no idea he does not know about the symptoms, he is not aware of anything. That's a destructive person and he doesn't know about it.
No, the green zones will only be declared those areas where there is no coronavirus report of coronavirus for past 30 days, I guess,
Okay.
like that. So you can be rest if you are green zone,
All
you
right.
can be assured
That
that there is
clears.
coronavirus because the incubation period is at max it is 27 days and from 14 days to 27 days. So yeah, so I think that is being taken care of.
All right. That's fair enough then. That's good. So this has been a lot of uh, you know, it's affecting a lot of people, and I've seen people going crazy during this lockdown. And I think things are not going to go well with the partial lockdown because it's going to take some time to recover from this thing.
Yeah, of course,
And
like the supply chain and
and
to
that
establish those lines effectively, it
yeah,
will take.
and that like for that we need to uh, like get the perspective of how the economy is going to work after lockdown. We did talk about it in the last podcast, but in a very micro level, people are going to suffer because as like this is my opinion, just correct me if I'm wrong. In a micro level, as in I mean the shops here, and in a macro level, I mean companies who are agriculture companies, industries. These are the macro industries I'm talking about. I'm talking about the micro
See,
ones where the little
the
shops, but they depend on the delivery of these.
the problem with overextending the lockdown is if we compare the micro industries and the macro industries are easier to get hit. Okay, because they don't have any buffer.
Right.
Okay, so they're the first one to hit, but at the same time it is comparatively easier to re-establish the micro businesses.
Yeah, but micro businesses don't have that budget or capital to
Exactly,
last
exactly.
that long. So they will
Yeah,
be dead
I'm
long
coming to
before
that.
things come back to normal.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. So in a macro industry, okay, they have this amount of buffer which they can with the help of which they can self sustain themselves for
Right.
a certain amount of time, not for an infinite amount of course. So they are not actually they are not the first ones to get hit, but then again if they are hit, they are very hard to re-establish. Okay, they're it's very hard for them to revitalize their business,
Yes.
their industry. So there's two things. I just read it today, like this morning. USA, they have announced a stimulus package of 450 billion,
All right.
448, so almost 450 billion dollars for the micro industries.
Yeah, I'll just interrupt to like say a fact that is USA has more death due to coronavirus than
Uh,
that happened in the Vietnam War, which was 20 years, I guess, 1955 to 1975,
yeah,
something like that. I'm not that good at history, but that was around 20
yeah.
years,
So
and it took
basically,
like 58,000 people,
uh,
and this is like more than that in USA in just a
yeah.
month, I guess.
basically how to revive the micro industries. There has to be some government stimulus packages. Without that, then like government policies won't help micro industries. Only a stimulus package or something like tax reduction, something like that will help them revive. Okay. However, to make sure that the macro industries don't get affected, you have to make sure you don't overextend the lockdown and government policies,
Okay.
because government policies tend to affect more on the macro level than the micro level.
Yes.
So that's how, like, you can actually give stimulus packages right now, and then when the economy opens, you make sure that you change your policies in such a way that the macro industries don't get hit. The problem is it's very hard to replace a macro industry. It's very easy to replace a micro industry.
That's true. But how many of these micro will survive till things get normal?
Yeah,
That's a
see,
huge
that
question.
you can't like save everything. You have to
Right.
like you have to sacrifice certain things and make sure that you save the more important things. I'm not saying that the micro
Yeah,
industries are
but
not.
it's a logical thing to say. Like
Yeah,
all
I'm not saying.
feelings apart, it's a
I'm
logical
not
thing
saying
to
that the
say.
micro industries are useless. Basically, the micro industries, the small scale retailers, are the like actual. Uh, our the socio-economic status is built upon those small scale retailers.
Right.
What I'm saying that uh, when something is this huge, okay, it won't be completely destroyed. I'm not being
Yes.
able to express myself clearly. I'm not being able to like people might not understand properly, but on a very basic layman term,
Let me make it simpler for the viewers. It means the macro industries, the big ones, are it's tough to bring them down, but it's also very tough to bring them up once they are down. But when it comes to the micro ones, it's very easy to bring them down, but it's also very relatively it's easier to bring
they're
them
first
up
ones
and
to
get
get hit.
them running in the
Yeah,
business, right?
they are basically the first ones to get hit by
Right.
lockdowns and all these things. But then again, it's very easy to replace them because the demand of the micro industries, they're never going to that's never going to saturated. So there's always this demand of them. So whenever there is demand, a business will revive itself on its own. You don't need anything. What you need is you need a stimulus package so that the businesses keep on going. This
But
like
when
two
it
three
comes to
months.
demand, I feel the macro industry has a higher demand because that's where things come from. That's the mother of all.
No, no.
Like that's
Macro,
from there, it's distributed
no.
among the micro
Macro
industries.
this is a tricky thing. Macro industries does not affect individuals.
Yeah,
Macro industry affects the community.
right.
Okay,
And the
as a community,
community is affected
see,
by the,
as a
yeah, tell
community,
me.
wait, as a community, I'm dependent on macro industries.
Yes.
As a community, we are dependent on macro industries.
Okay.
But as an individual, I am dependent on my I mean industries of my areas, of my localities.
Okay.
Both are equally important, but what I said is the major difference between reviving micro and macro industries is you need to give stimulus package to the micro industries so that they can survive these 3 months.
Okay.
After that, they will self revive themselves.
Right.
You need to change your policies so that macro industries get benefits post 3 months, because they have a buffer amount with the help of which they can survive these 3 4 months.
Yes.
But if this trend continues, they won't suffer. They won't be able to sustain post this pandemic is over.
Right.
This is the difference. So if we can break this to time scale, this is the during the lockdown, after the lockdown.
Okay.
Here micro industries will get affected, macro industries won't be that much hard, they won't be hit that hard. This period post lockdown, micro industries will self revive themselves, but in this period macro industries will be hit the hardest.
Right. That's true.
So you need stimulus package to serve to revive micro industry in this time, and you need to change your policies to revive macro industries in this time.
Okay, so
So
just for the people who don't know what is stimulus package, if you can explain.
yeah, stimulus package is basically uh, suppose you are doing a business,
Right.
okay, and I'm a government, and your business is going down, and our entire structure is dependent upon you. So I see that if your business going down, to reconstruct a business, it will cost me huge amount. Okay, it will be much less amount to give you to that money so that you can sustain your businesses for this
Keep it
short.
break even.
Keep it, yeah, break even. So I give you suppose to re-establish your business, I will need like $1 billion. Okay,
Okay.
but if I can give you 500 million, you can keep yourself floating there in these 3 months. So that is the stimulus package. I'm
Okay.
actually giving you a huge amount of money, but when you look at it in a different angle, I'm actually saving 500 million, because hadn't I been given you the 500 million, it would cost me like 1 billion. So
Right.
it, like that is a stimulus package,
All right.
directly giving you money so that you can survive yourself.
Okay, so how do you uh, conclude this partial lockdown,
I think
this curve,
I
and
it
also how it's going to
yeah,
impact the economy?
I think number one, you should not entirely remove lockdown.
Right.
Okay, even there, if there is zero cases, you should at least wait for 14 days before entirely lifting the lockdown. And I think what we can do is either March 3rd, May 3rd, or May 7th, or May 10th, at any point of time, whenever you see it seems the graph is actually going down, the curve is actually going down, you can impose partial lockdown for 1 week or 2 week. Then again, you assess that thing and
Right.
take action further.
Yeah, you just can't declare it just like that. You have to keep on testing and analyzing the partial lockdown.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's a good few points that we've talked about today.
Yeah.
And for all the audience who have been listening till now, thank you. And we'll be back with new facts, and we'll be covering a lot of different
Keep, I will
aspects.
I will request the our viewers to keep us updated about facts, because we are students like you guys are, I believe,
Yes,
and
everybody
we are
is
not,
a student, even
yeah,
if you're 50 years old.
we are not expert in this thing, but what we feel like, what we know, or what we like acquire facts and figures about these things, people should know about this, and people should be ready about how to tackle this post lockdown, because we are not tackling anything during our lockdown. We have to tackle the main struggle is post lockdown, when the economy will be down, and when like the country will try to get back up and walk in its feet. So how to tackle that? Even if you can't get a job in the 3-4 months, don't get depressed. So this is some things, because whenever the lockdown is lifted, we will be in a mood that okay, the lockdown is lifted, so everything is fine now, the
That's
dark days are gone, but
that's
it's
the
not
problem.
actually that
That's
way.
the reality.
So that's something that we want to share with you guys. We just want to let everyone know about these things, what we feel like, what our views are, and we will be very happy if any one of you guys want to join in any of
Yes,
our
exactly.
podcasts with your views and things, because that's how we um, that's how we build our knowledge, or that's how we build our what I will say, um, understanding of things, okay, by contradicting someone's opinion and giving yourself your input.
Right.
So
So it's
yeah,
basically it's healthy
we are more than willing
discussions,
to take your inputs.
and
As if you don't agree with anything, something about us, just come in our podcast and share with us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's basically healthy discussions and making things simpler. And when you read articles, there are fancy words and that things that actually make you like
Matter.
think that
Yeah.
this is way worse than it looks, way worse than it is. Like it's very bad right now, but the way they put it up, it looks like they are trying to make people afraid and might take advantage of it later on. So don't be afraid. Make sure you know the things properly. And that's why we do this, to make things simple as possible, as simple as we understand it. And there's a lot for us to improve as well. And I'm sure we will as the days go by. Until then, we wish you all the best. Keep your family safe. Keep yourself safe as well. Abide by the policies and
Yep.
the rules
Keep
that
it
government
updated.
has set,
Yeah.
and this is all for your benefit. And stay safe and stay home. Do you have anything to say to the audience?
No, no, just keep yourself updated during this lockdown. Just
Right.
keep yourself updated. Don't fear anything.
Yes, that's a good place to end. So we'll see you in the next podcast.